Welcome back to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. We got a great guest today. He spent an immersion of 10 years in the world of mindfulness and transformation. Uh, and I got to correct myself. Alan, you've been in it for over 50 years. Your 10 years was living in a ashram
Yeah.
in your early 20s. You're a CEO, author, speaker, veteran software and app developer. And what impresses an old guy like me is you're an AI guru before AI was ever even popular. So, welcome to the show. We got a lot to cover. I'm fascinated by your background and where it's led you to today. And that's what we're going to talk about. So, start off with this in your 20s, 10 years in an ashram. First of all, tell people what that is. I had to look it up, and that which makes it even more fascinating to me. But tell us about how did you end up in that arena?
All right. Well, that's a good place to start. Well, I was working very much involved in uh, the peace movement at the time, and I met a gentleman who was a member of the Chicago Seven at the time, Rennie Davis, who was a leader of the peace movement, and he went to India and found this guru who was at the time only like 16 years old. Okay,
Wow.
and he had in a lineage from his father, it got passed on just like there's different lineages and different religions. And I went back and forth on whether this was a good thing or not. And finally, I learned this meditation that this guru taught. And I was like so impressed and had such a powerful experience of going beyond the mind into a universal experience of consciousness and awareness that I joined an ashram, which basically is like a monastery. You basically dedicate your life to a spiritual life. And I became very fascinated with meditation. I would meditate many hours a day and do different ways of serving. And but it wasn't necessarily something I had planned on in my life, or it wasn't like an aspiration that I started with. I mean, I was very interested in uh, awareness and spiritual consciousness and meditation, but I hadn't really like set it as a goal. But I ended up having such a powerful experience, and then I ended up being one of his meditation teachers and traveling all over North America and teaching other people how to meditate. And this was back in the 70s and 80s before mindfulness was like really popular or backed up by science. Now, mindfulness has been certified by many studies, over 2,000, 20,000 studies, verifying the validity of how meditation improves your health,
Mm.
improves your nervous system, reduces your stress, and has all sorts of other benefits of performance. Like a lot of sports teams now do meditation. Phil Jackson is noted for using it with the Chicago Bulls or the Los Angeles Lakers to have everyone on the team meditate before they went on and played. So I've applied it to business. I created a seminar in the 80s called Winning at Work and at Life. After living in the ashram, I decided that I wanted to bring this awareness or this consciousness into work because that's where it seems like people were most stressed out. So I began very involved in finding new tools or ways of conveying how people can stay in a calm state and connect to their higher self when they're at work. And so I created the seminar, Winning at Work and Life. A lot of people would win at work, be very successful, but they would lose at life. They would end up having chronic disease or bad relationships or different consequences of being totally stressed in the work, but not being able to really sustain it in the work-life balance. So that's where I focused myself. And I ended up doing an infomercial on TV in the 90s to sell my tape package. So that's a lot right there. I don't know if you wanted to stop me.
No, that's great because I mean I come out of the world of law enforcement, and I think other than working in an emergency room, doctors and nurses, I can't think of a more stressful job to have, and how a lot of cops do not have the resources, and I don't mean financial, but the access to resources for stress management. We're so conditioned to the classic saying was "suck it up, Buttercup,"
Yeah, yeah,
and do your job, and all those things. And then you're right that you carry that work life to your home life, and you start treating your family, your spouse, and your kids like you treat suspects. You talk to them, talk down to them, and you operate on being authoritative and emotions. And and I know there's been a lot of effort to train cops how to de-escalate conflict on the job, but there doesn't always seem to be an equal appreciation for how do they manage their own stress besides having to manage somebody else's who's escalated for whatever reason. So I think this is a great topic. And as you were talking about the guru and the meditation, that is caught on in a different format in a different religion, because most of what your experience was within the Hinduism.
yes,
Yes, but in I think in the last few years we're seeing a similar type of renaissance of what in the Roman Catholic world we call contemplative prayer.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
I was brought up Catholic, so I understand.
so it's I see the analysis or the analogy is something that our audience can picture is, well, I don't have to be Hindu to have mindfulness and use your we're going to talk about your KiFlow app, just like you don't have to be Catholic to have a contemplative prayer life with whatever you see as your creator or your relationship with God. So I see a lot in common there, and a lot of applications, which kind of leads me into how did that 70s, that 80s and 90s, how's it impacted where you're at now in the 21st century?
Well, I start each day with half an hour of meditation to connect to that source within. It is a contemplative place of reflection, of just noticing your thoughts, noticing your emotions, noticing your body sensations, but also noticing your connection with source, with creator, with feeling that gratitude that you're alive or having a purpose in life, and having some sense of some larger understanding of what this is all about, in terms of what we're here for is to learn and grow and experience our full potential as human beings. But a lot of times we don't relate to the being part, we get into the doing part.
Mm-hmm.
So meditation or prayer is in that beingness of just connecting to that energy, that spirit, whether what you want to call it. It's there. It's connect. Your breath really means spirit or energy. So ki is a Japanese term for energy. Chi is like Chinese, and prana is like in Hindu. But there's all these terms that all these different cultures call the same thing, which is connecting to your soul, your spirit, your higher self. And that's the important thing. In these days, we really need to have some higher purpose, some higher vision to meet the challenges of the modern day. So I have a very vibrant worldwide software business that we have clients all over the world, and I have a team all over the world. And I practice that state of calmness in facing all the different challenges of the bugs or things that come up during the day. So instead of like reacting defensively to a client who calls up and says there's a problem with the software, I use curiosity. I get interested in understanding the problem rather than trying to defend or react. I come more from that calm place that is centered in that meditative understanding.
That it kind of reminds me a little bit of uh, trauma informed therapy, where you're stuck, your mind, your conscious consciousness is you're stuck in the past, and instead of being in the present, and that you're just keep looping whatever that trauma is, you just keep looping that over and over in your mind, and you lose touch with the present and the future and opportunity and the joy of life. It's kind of what you're talking about. It just reminds me
Yeah.
of that trauma informed therapy and how you reprogram your mind basically to go, that's the past, that's where it belongs. And the mindfulness you're talking about from that higher self is starts with get in the present, and then when the future hits you, those stressors
Yeah.
in your life is you don't react like the old self. You act with the calmness because you're in the present and you want to solve the problems and have solutions, not conflict and chaos. I don't know if that's a fair evaluation of it, but
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
what
like
it
we
sounds
have
like.
these primitive programs from our primitive part of our brain of survival.
Hmm?
That originally our brain was had a stress response system, fight, flight, and freeze, to protect us from, lions and bears and tigers or physical threats. And it was designed to turn on to bring all your energy and your strength and your muscles and your blood flow to your extremities to give you extra strength to handle physical threats.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, in this modern day and age, we're more triggered by social threats, by deadlines or people judging us or being abused or social media or news on the radio or the TV. All these things keep us not feeling safe. So it's really a subconscious thing. In our nervous system, we have two nervous systems. One is the sympathetic nervous system, which is the stress response system, which was designed to turn on and turn off. It's like a smoke alarm
Mm-hmm.
that was originally designed when there's a threat to warn you. Okay, but it's like our smoke alarm is blaring all the time. We don't know how to turn it off, so it keeps our stress, cortisol, our hormones, our adrenaline on high alert because we don't feel safe inside because we're carrying the past forward. So basically, we're stuck in anxiety about the future and worry about the future in the past, and we don't stay in the present. Mindfulness means being in the present moment without judgment, just being present, being curious, and being available with all your resources to respond in the best way to a challenge. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's your parasympathetic nervous system. That's so it's really a physiological nervous system to reprogram yourself from these survival strategies. I've identified four main survival strategies that we uncover and transform and shift into growth strategies. So you are operating more from a growth mindset rather than a survival mindset. And you were mentioning police. Basically, they're always in a threatening survival physical situation, perhaps. And these days, it's so important that they maintain their calmness because they're full resources. What happens when your stress response system kicks in? It hijacks your higher brain, your neocortex, and brings you back into that reptilian and mammalian brain, which is totally reactive. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge is how, when you're faced with these external changes, not to react, but to shift the program, reprogram yourself, like you were saying, so that you come from more of an empowered place in a resilient place. So resilience means stress resilience means coming back to that calm, that you might react, but you know how to get back there. But if you don't know how to turn off that smoke alarm, it just keeps blaring in your mind all day long, repeating those thoughts. And you get into these thought loops, or you get into these emotions, these anger, and you keep recycling the anger, or you get into depression. And all these things just stay in your body and basically lead to chronic stress, which leads to chronic disease, which leads to death. So most doctor visits, according to the CDC, 90% of them are stress related. And most chronic diseases start with chronic stress. So this is like a crucial issue, not just for performance sake, but for health sake. In terms of really keeping your body healthy, it's really important that people learn stress resilience, of how to, I mean, it's natural to have good stress, as I said, to rise to occasion, like in a sports situation. Like I play pickleball a lot, and my activates that same stress response system, but in a good way, to be really alert and aware.
Right. Right.
But I don't think
I'm laughing because I play pickleball, and every time when I hear the word pickleball, I immediately go, the middle solves the riddle, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But so I'm sorry but yeah, there is good stress. You start a family. It's stressful when a newborn doesn't sleep, but it's a stress that we still have to manage. And whatnot. And a good friend of mine, I'm actually just finishing up a 30-day challenge with a former monk, Catholic monk he was at St. Michael's Abbey. He's in Oxford now, Oxford University, working on some stuff. And he says, and he's a PhD guy, the way he goes, so I could understand what all the psychology and the clinical stuff that goes into it. He goes, I'm going to break it down for you. He goes, you got three parts to your mind. Is you have your manager mind. That's the operational one that is focused on task and whatnot. And you find your niche in life and you're doing well, and there's symmetry and everything. And you're managing well until the stressor hits. And then instead of calling it a smoke alarm, he goes, you go into firefighter mode. The bell rings in the firehouse and call out the firefighters. They got to put out this fire in your life. But the fire is, you're not equipped. That firefighter part of you doesn't have that mindfulness, that doesn't have the training or the experience to, in a healthy way, face, that stressor and resolve it. And then the firefighter in you goes, F it, I'm done, I'm out of here. And then he goes, and we're going to just shove it into exile. And that's that suppression, and then how you keep that suppressed is it alcohol? Is it drugs? Is it whatever you focus your mind on, so you don't have to deal with the fire anymore. And the key was all three of those parts of your mind are good because they want a successful, good outcome, but just don't have the skill sets to accomplish it. So now we need to find an alternative way to satisfy the manager and the firefighter in you and get rid of that unhealthy exile of suppressing whatever it is you're suppressing. And that really clicked with me because I could picture firefighters, and a one alarm fire becomes a 5 alarm fire, becomes, hey, we just got to let it burn to the ground because we can't put it out, kind of deal. And that helped me. And I think in relationship to your mindfulness, a friend of mine's a former Navy SEAL commander, huge on mindfulness. That it's not a sign of weakness to be meditative and the box breathing and doing all those things to keep calm and focused and have peace and inner peace in yourself. That's a sign of strength. So to kind of move it to the next level, you created an app that makes it, you're not scheduling getting into a clinic and doing all sorts of, you know, psychobabble, what cops would call, you know, kind of psychobabble, that we want to do everything on our own and we want to be left alone. And if there's something out there that can help me be a better cop, a better parent, a better husband, I'm all for it. Just don't send me to a psychologist kind
Yeah.
of deal. So can you talk about the app? How did you develop the metrics that went into it and your successes with it? What's that look like?
Well, as I said before, I was doing personal growth transformational seminars, and then I ended up creating, using a software to run my seminar in business, and I learned the software. So then I ended up also creating a new division in my company, uh, which we created a software that runs a whole company, a whole CRM, ERP system that runs every aspect of a company.
Wow.
And I developed a lot of technical skills. So then I decided in 2011, when the App Store opened up, to create an app called Stress Shifter, which was designed to transform people's stress into being calm, centered, and creative. And the idea of it is that by awareness, self awareness, you can find out what triggers your stress. Most people get triggered, like you're saying, they go into that fire fighting mode, and then they suppress it, and it all goes subconscious and gets all these emotions get stuck in your body, and they muck up your whole energy flow, and end up, causing depression for a lot of people because they haven't processed anything. So this idea of this app is a tool that you can use anytime, anywhere, and practice every day. Every time, I mean, you can get stressed by your finances, you can get stressed by relationships, you can get stressed by your work, you can get stressed by so many things. And we just try to operate on top of it and pretend nothing happened in our body. And most people have a way of putting on a persona, okay, I'm fine. But underneath, they're really anxious, or they're really afraid, or they're really upset and disappointed, but no one wants to hear about that. So this app is a very safe way of talking. And now, since 2011, I've updated it to use an AI agent that's very empathetic, that's very acknowledging and listens, and it's very intelligent. Okay. So we've trained it to help a person, guide a person to understand exactly what just happened when you got your stress, and to nip it in the bud to get you more resilient and back into your flow. That's why we call it KiFlow. Ki means energy, and then being into that flow state, which is your optimum performance state. So when you're in this experience of stress, you feel basically your stress response system feels unsafe. There's something made you feel unsafe. So you have to go through the layers. It's like someone criticized you, or someone you thought was being judgmental to you, or someone was trying to control you or make you do something, like you were saying about leave me alone. Leave me alone is like a phrase. I don't want anyone to push me around or control me or tell me what to do. But those cause you to feel not safe when someone threatens you like that. So you peel it away, and you start by noticing your emotion, your sensations in your body, and then you start noticing what emotions are there, and then you notice what thoughts are there, like the leave me alone thought, or I don't like you, or I'm not good. So then you get to what's called a limiting core belief and a fear, underlying fear. And usually the core fears are fear of being disapproved of, fear of being rejected, fear of not being able to control people or control situations, that you're going to be trapped or manipulated, so you have to stay in control all the time, or stay one up, and then the fear of being controlled and being blamed, you're being abused. So those fears are survival fears, and so those get triggered. And so the idea is to just begin to get interested and have some kind of curiosity of self-knowledge, of knowing yourself more, of what your triggers are. So this is like a daily practice of enjoying life by learning more about yourself and what's inside rather than being afraid. Most people are afraid to go inside and find out all those judgments. You're not something enough. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You're not competent. All those things got pre-programmed into us, and we end up believing them without any kind of discerning thought going on. Is this something I want to believe my whole life and try to prove that I am good enough, or prove that I am worthy, or prove that I am smart? So we spend our whole life trying to prove something that got programmed before we even decided, is this a good thing to believe about myself?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that discernment, you take this inventory of your self-beliefs, then you have the power back to change them and reparent yourself into empowering beliefs. Yes, I am enough. I don't have to prove myself. I am worthy. I am lovable. I am a good person. I don't, all these things we're operating in reaction to on a subconscious level. And so that basically occupies a great part of our brain. When I used to go into corporations and do my seminar, I would ask them, what percentage of the time are you doing one of these survival strategies of trying to be right or look good or play it safe or avoid responsibility in a meeting? And it's like most people would say, well, most of the time, 80% of the time, we're in the defensive mode, the survival mode, rather than the productive mode. So if you can begin to nip these in the butt and identify, okay, now I'm just trying to judge someone. I'm just trying to be right. I'm just trying to put someone down. Or I'm just trying to get someone's approval. I just want to look good. I want to get attention. Or I don't want to take any responsibility, any accountability. I don't want to be blamed. Or I just want to play it safe. And you can nip these survival programs in the bud before they cause you even more stress. So this app is designed to help you identify this and then shift it. So there's 4 steps. First, you face your stress. Then you focus on what's driving, what the triggers are, and you identify them. And then you free yourself from them and redesign your beliefs and go into what I call a growth mindset instead of a survival mindset. And then you get into the flow and you take empowered actions rather than reactive actions. And the whole thing brings you back into a sense of resilience where you are operating from a calmness, a centeredness, and a creativity place rather than a stress place. So the app takes you through those 4 steps in a very sequential way, listening, but you don't have to be afraid. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't, it's completely anonymous. It's completely private. It's completely safe. And it's very empowering.
Wow. This is fascinating because I can share from personal experience, learning that how I was taught it. Safety, security, control, and prosperity are the 4 things every human being is looking for in life. And you can spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on counseling and consulting and trying to find yourself and in these 4 areas. And you have an app that sounds to me exactly what it's addressing each one of those. You use the word safe, you use the word secure, you use the word control because you're in control. It's the app. It's not a judgmental, third party trying to tell you, well, if only you had done this, or and it sounds like criticism. And it's all geared towards prosperity, of having a peaceful, prosperous life, and so I find it fascinating. So,
we have a natural abundance. We've been trained in scarcity, not enough. But if you tap into this energy that I'm talking about, it's abundant. It's got all the things that you're looking for: the joy, the love, the peace, the calmness is already there. We don't have to do anything for it. That's what the being part of a human being is all about. Is you just need to stay connected to it and be with it.
Right. And nowhere would anybody ever even suggest, oh, you're now going to have a stress-free life if you would do all these things in a monastery or in a ashram or on an app. You're still going to have chaos in your life,
Well, that's
but
why
you'll be able to handle it better, quicker, and more successfully than the old self, because it's true. And I'm telling you, law enforcement, this is going to be a kind of a gut punch for some of our listeners, but it very much is an us versus them environment because of the way people think about the police and the way the police think about people through a whole lot of things that are beyond the control of law enforcement. and yeah. and we gradually over a period of time get disillusioned with our careers, with ourselves, with our leaders, our politicians, all that kind of stuff, and we resolve it by going, I'm retired on duty, I'm going to quit, I'm going to do, some cops commit suicide, and that's the resolution of dealing with the stress that they don't have control over a lot of the triggering events, and they don't know how to respond in a healthy way because they've never been taught. So this conversation, I think, is so much needed. If people go back and listen to the episode I just had with Steve Gallegos, born in Chile, and at 7 years old, his parents, he didn't speak English. They'd come to the United States via Venezuela, Puerto Rico, and eventually ended up in South Side Chicago. And his parents did not call him by his God-given birth name. They literally called him, "Hey, good for nothing, come here. Oh. You're good for nothing." And so that's what that was his belief until he was 17 years old, joined the Marine Corps, and a drill sergeant took an interest in. He tells the story, and no, you are good for something, and not because you're going to be a Marine fighting, but because of what that drill sergeant just witnessed him doing to help 3 other Marine recruits get through boot camp because English was not their first language.
Yeah.
And so I think your app is awesome. I mean, if somebody was to jump on, and I'm going to, you obviously you got to give the website here in just a second, but if somebody was to jump on your app after listening to this, download it, what's the first thing they should try in the app, and what impact should they expect, like immediately or shortly thereafter?
Well, it really depends. There's different people have different experience with mindfulness. Some are just never heard of it, and they go into their mind. They can't stop their thoughts, and they feel like very frustrated with the idea of meditation. Other people have been doing mindfulness for many years. So it's a process. It's like really, you have to be patient with yourself. You have to like allow yourself to go through a learning curve. It's a skill. Basically, what we're talking about is you're not going to get stress. You're going to learn stress resilience.
Good.
And stress resilience is going to be something that you're going to work on and practice every day. I mean, every day you're going to have different challenges, and sometimes you're going to get triggered and not. The idea of the app is to deflate your triggers. That your triggers are coming from your beliefs. If you change your beliefs, you're no longer going to be triggered. Okay.
Yeah.
Because your beliefs create your fears, and your fears trigger your system. Is to make you feel unsafe. So if you have this, I'm not no good, or you're a good, not good for something, every day you're carrying that around and trying to prove it. Hey, I really am good. I really am good. But you're still in reaction to that one belief. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you know how to erase that belief And this is what the app teaches you how to do, is to reprogram and reframe all your beliefs into, it's like reparenting yourself. Now, instead of having the parents you had, you take charge. You're the adult in the room, and you have this little hurt child inside of you who's still believing all the things that it had to do to survive as a child to get through childhood.
Mm-hmm.
That are interfering, and then they keep coming up. Oh, this is just like when I was in child. We have this thing called the amygdala, which remembers every single pain or hurt that you had in childhood. And it says when you're an adult, it's like, oh, this is just like when I was a kid and all the kids turned against me, or I got, into a fight with this guy, or, or my parents said this to me. That amygdala is trying to protect you. But it's like, okay, now you reparent yourself and you say, affirming thoughts, positive thoughts, empowering thoughts, that you are strong enough, that you are a good person, that you are healthy, whatever it is. Like I work with nurses in the hospital, and they took this program, and this one nurse said, for me, this process is allowing me to stop reacting dramatically and immediately to my own sensors, and rather now center myself, better understand the root cause, and process how I'm going to use that for a better good for myself and the whole. And it will allow me to trust myself and also abandon my unhealthy self-judgments. So the app is about learning to trust yourself, accept yourself, empower yourself, and express yourself. So those are the main shifts to really, go through this process of transition from survival to a growth mindset. And that's what you should expect, is like you should expect that you're going to learn that. And it's not like a one thing. This is not like your normal mindfulness stress relief app where you just get some stress relief, or it's not like taking a pill or the easy button. Okay.
Okay.
This is not, doing meditations, guided meditations, visualizations. That's a good first step. I mean, as someone who's meditated for 50 years, when you're all stressed out, just having something to calm you down is a good step. But this is like mindfulness 2.0. This gets to the root cause to, give you the awareness to no longer be triggered. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're about stress transformation, not stress relief. Stress resilience is a skill, stress transformation. So it's like a lifetime practice. And, if you can learn this one skill, it'll completely change your life. Really, sincerely, it's a game changer, because your whole life is lived in your thoughts. Okay, and if you can learn to think differently about yourself, the people around you, your work, your life, you're going to have a much more enjoyable, fulfilling life.
This is awesome, and for our listeners, and a lot of them do come from the high stress world of law enforcement and the business world. I want to, because I believe in and practice a lot of what you're saying. Cops were taught this: ask, tell, make. I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to tell you to do something. And if you still don't do it, I'm going to make you do it. And I always called it the trilogy. Disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, assault on a police officer. That's the progression. I got a disorderly person. I ask them to stop. They don't. I tell them to stop. They don't. Now I'm going to make them. I'm going to go hands on. The fight's on, and somebody usually gets hurt, and all those things. So what I think in the mind
every night on TV.
Yeah, well, and cops do it, and I train cops around Colorado on interacting with people with disabilities that are on the autism spectrum, and in different kind of physical and intellectual disabilities, and what we are trying to train them is not to escalate the situation, and then you have to use de-escalation tools. The whole thing is don't escalate it to begin with.
Yeah.
And what I kind of compare the analogy of what you're sharing that helps me transition it in my mind that I can picture and go, and the light bulb goes off, is this is like telling a cop, hey, when you walk into a chaotic situation, don't wait for it to escalate, or don't you escalate it by they're yelling at you, so you yell louder and that kind of stuff. Is that have some anti-escalation to begin with, and whether it's verbal. And we were taught verbal judo, you stopped me because I'm, fill in the blank. And we were taught to just simply say, hey, I appreciate that, but the real reason I stopped you is you ran a red light. Can you share with me why? And so I think the mindfulness, what you're talking about, the difference between your app and other techniques or stuff that's out there is you're trying to get your brain reprogrammed like you do in Ask, Tell, and Make to, hey, before the stressor even hits, I already have some built-in responses from mindfulness, whether it's the box breathing. I noticed you did it before we went on air. You were that's a technique that you have practiced and used and worked for 50 years.
We teach box breathing in the app, actually.
Yeah, and I've jumped on the app. It's very easy to navigate through, and I just want the listeners to realize that what you're sharing, not only based on your personal experience and 50 years of it, I can say for a fact this stuff works, and it does make a difference in your life. It doesn't take away the chaos, but it does give you the skill sets and the mindset to address it in a very healthy way, and not the way we usually, they'll say, well, we need to send you to anger management. No, don't. I need to get you to reset your mind so that you don't get angry in the first place. Because anger management's like, oh, okay, well, it's all right to get pissed off. You just got to manage it better. Well, no, I don't want to get pissed off, period, in the first place. You're mad at my uniform. You don't hate me as an individual or a human being. You hate what I represent, and I'm not going to get angry about that. Well, that's a mindfulness.
Yeah, mindfulness teaches you not to take it personally.
Yeah. Yes.
You have enough space where you're not on the surface. When you're in that reactive thing, you're just on the surface. You're out of control. You're not consciously creating that conversation the way you want to.
Yeah.
You're out of control, and anger is just a symptom. It's not. It's a way of protecting yourself. It's a way. There's a hurt underneath, and you were hurt at one point, and you're still angry about that.
Yeah.
And this is reminding you of that.
Yeah.
So if you start learning how to heal that hurt and address that hurt child that's still in there, then you're not going to be triggered as much in that anger.
Yep, absolutely. And it could be that you're 60 years old and that you're a hurt adult. It may not have been something in your childhood. It's it's kind of like Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and then you start to react as if you're getting punched in the mouth all the time, when in reality you're not. So. So how can one? What's the website for your app, and how can people, if they want to learn more about you, about the app, where do they go?
You can go to KiFlow.app, KiFlow.app, or you can go directly to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and just search on KiFlow, KiFLW, and our website gives you a little more information, but there's also information in the app stores that you can go to. Okay.
And that's how I went to Apple when I downloaded it. I went straight to the App Store.
Yeah.
That's great. So best stress transformation advice you can give someone besides the app if that app did not exist, or they go, oh, man, I'm not sure I want to do an app. What's the best stress transformation advice you could give somebody to make that transition, take that step?
Love yourself. Take 5 minutes just to be with yourself. Take half an hour. Do something for you, whether it's something you enjoy, whatever it is. Do more of that. Make sure that that's just as important to you in your life. Take a few breaths. All it takes is like maybe 3 deep breaths to change how you feel. But understand that you are first. It's like on an airplane. If there's a disaster, what do they say? They say, first, take your mask down before you give it to your child. If you don't care for yourself or have self-care practices daily for yourself, or take a day, or take an evening, or take a weekend to take care of yourself, then you can do all these other things. But most people feel like that's being selfish, or I don't have time for that, or I don't really, like myself, so I don't want to hang out with myself. I want to get distracted. Give me a TV, give me a drug, give me some food. But learn to love yourself, and you'll experience life in a whole new way.
That's great. It's like, would you rather take 5 minutes for self-care and a little bit of contemplation and meditation, or take 2 hours sitting in a doctor's office trying to figure out why the heck you have high blood pressure? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if you want to be logical about it, as opposed to more philosophical or whatever, that's my logic. Is 2 hours in the doctor's office, or 30 minutes taking time for that quiet time and meditation, and for me, contemplative prayer. I'll take the 30 minutes every time, and then I'll enjoy a lot more of life because of that 30 minutes than I will taking blood pressure medication.
Exactly.
So, well, hey, Alan, this has been absolutely awesome to have you on the show. I'd love to have you back again, particularly maybe talk a little bit more about the app, and hear some success stories from people that have experienced it. So thank you for being here today. To our listeners, thank you for being here today. If this episode, yeah, absolutely. For the listeners, if this touched your heart, you found something, a real good takeaway, I'd love for you to comment on that on your favorite platform. Share it with somebody that needs to hear the message today. Reach out to me at warriorservantleaderpodcast.com. All my contact info is on there. And remember this, always strive to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons, because that's what warriors, servants, and leaders do. Love y'all. See you next week.